Join us and unwind with a good book. Welcome to Relaxing Reads.
Welcome. Here we go. It's Relaxing Reads for December, and so happy that you can join us today. I'm Anne from The Breeze in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia.
I'm Deb from The Breeze in Halifax.
And I'm Simone from Breeze Afternoons in Vancouver and Edmonton.
And this month we're chatting about The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. It's a holiday rom-com about a pair of twins who switch lives just before Christmas. And just to clarify, Maggie Knox is the pen name for dynamic writing duo Karma Brown and Marissa Stapley. This is their debut novel together. So it's been a great read. We're so excited to chat about it. To give you a bit of an overview of the story or of the novel, when chef Charlie Goodwin gets hit on the head on the LA set of her reality baking show, she gets a concussion and she loses her ability to taste and smell, both critical to her success as show judge. At the same time, Charlie's identical twin, Cass, is trying to hold her own life together back in their mountain hometown of Starlight Peak, while running the family's bustling bakery and dealing with her ex, who can't seem to let their relationship go. He's just not getting the memo. With only days until Christmas, a desperate Charlie asks Cass to do something they haven't done since they were kids: switch places. But temporarily trading lives proves to be a bit more complicated than they imagined, especially when rugged firefighter Jake and gorgeous physician's assistant Miguel are thrown into the mix. This book had so many fun ingredients. What did you both think? Let's just do a brief overview of what you thought of the book. Simone, we'll start with you.
Oh my gosh, I love this book. Okay, so at first I'll admit I thought it was going to be cheesy, because you can kind of come to expect that from sometimes these Hallmark movies, and that's kind of what I thought this would be like, but it wasn't at all. It was nice. It had like the right amount of cheese. It wasn't anything over the top, and I was wondering how this switch was going to take place, because in my head I'm like, it's kind of like Parent Trap, and then it's like, how are they going to do this as adults? Is it going to make sense? And it totally makes sense. So this is a book I picked up and I read through it in a couple days. Like it kept going. I still had that piqued interest of what's happening next, what's going to happen next. So that kept me going. So I really enjoyed this nice, light holiday romantic read.
And Deb, what about you?
100%. I am with you, Simone. I love the cheese. I love the extra cheese on the Hallmarky type movies. Yes, exactly. So I was game to get in, and I couldn't put it down. It was so good. And you're right. It kind of was a little different. Like, it took a different spin than your typical like rom-com movies, but it had everything that if you're a fan of those shows and romantic novels, I think it was just set out so well that I think everyone can fall in love with the characters and the storyline. It was fantastic.
I agree. I love, and you mentioned cheese, but I loved all the talk about like the baking and the restaurant and all the foods that were thrown in on when Cass went out on her date to Fabrizio's, and when they were at the bakery, and of course on the reality baking show. Food everywhere. So that just really added to it as well. And on that note, what was your favorite food moment from the book? I just mentioned mine. I think it had to be Fabrizio's, when Cass went on the date with Miguel and the food kept coming. I'm like, oh, I wish that was me, because it sounded so good. But what about you, Simone? Did you have a favorite food moment from the book?
Well, I love me a good Aperol Spritz. So the Aperol Spritz cupcakes, that was, I think, one of the first ones. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is merging my love of dessert and yummy beverages all in one. How do I taste something like that? Then also just trying to taste all the things they talked about, like the Linzer cookies or those brandy-soaked raisins. Everything just sounded so good. It was just like, oh, I want to try all of these baked goods. Does this bakery exist somewhere, please?
Yeah.
I'm hungry
and can we put
now.
in an order for the holidays?
Yeah, right.
They're really busy right now, Deb. They're busy right now, okay?
They're slammed.
Deb, is there anything that, like, when you were reading through, you're like, oh my gosh, I would so love that?
Do you know what? every aspect of it. But I think actually my favorite food moment came at the very end with the last minute holiday rush, and they were baking up a storm, but it was the three guys. It was Walter and Jake and Miguel and in the kitchen, and the girls came in and watched from the countertop, or just on the other side of the counter. But I love that idea of everything coming together, and we all feel the adrenaline rush of the holidays, and especially if you've got family and friends to tend to. But also, if you've got an order in a bakery, your favorite local bakery, or you want to get it all done, and they have such a great reputation. But I thought it was such a great moment.
I also, at the end, I thought that sweet and salty concoction that Cass came up with at the end sounded really good too. I'm like, yes, I would like some of that, please. Were there any events that happened during the switch that you could really relate to? Simone, we'll go back to you to take that one on.
I think, some of the moments, I've worked in television, and just some of those moments where you're not 100% feeling yourself, but you have to be on, or you're so worried about things and worried about job security and that kind of stuff. So, in the beginning it was Charlie, but really Cass living through it. Just some of the stress that comes along with being a part of that whole world and having to look a certain way and appear a certain way and act like you have everything together. So, at the end when, Charlie was able to kind of take a little break away from that and realize it wasn't everything, and it's okay to kind of just be present in a moment and not worry about what other people think about you. I think that part kind of stuck out to me the most.
I've done a few hits on TV. Luckily, it was for a very short period of time. So it was the fake it till you make it kind of attitude I took. But also working in this broadcast business, filling in for a colleague. And it really makes you appreciate what that person does, the strength that they've got, the hard work. And I think it would give me, both in that situation, but also in my own situation, it gave me a moment to ask myself, if I could do that job, if I really wanted to, could I do that job? And am I doing what's best suited for me? So that's what I took from it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Deb, because when I go on vacation, you fill in for me. So thank you.
And your show is nothing like it should be.
It's busy, that's for sure. Well, it's funny because literally I just hosted our local telethon, and I do this once a year. I do TV once a year, and I always get so stressed out beforehand. When you're on radio, you can wear what you want, and I don't worry about my hair and everything. And I literally just hosted this telethon, and I was thinking back to parts of that book about what you're wearing and how's the hair and all the rest of it. So
where do I look?
But I will tell you a funny story, though, because I was doing a break and the camera guy was signaling me to wrap it up, and I thought he meant stretch it out, like keep going. So I kept going and talking, and he finally he's like, cut it, go to commercial. So anyway, it made for a funny bit when I came back, and I can appreciate those moments. And honestly, one of my dream jobs would be to work for the Food Network. I would love that. I'm not a cook or anything, but I am obsessed.
You just
with
want to do the eating
shows.
And then maybe the judging part of it.
Yeah, taste testing.
Sign me up. So LA or Starlight Peak. And why? So they really, in the book, I think you kind of got a good sense of what L.A. was like for Charlie, and then Cass and Starlight Peak. And then when they switched it up, it was, that visual in your mind. So where would you like to be if you had the choice? Simone.
I would say I'm definitely Team Starlight Peak. Now, I live in a really small town, Ladner, BC, and I'm a total townie. I go to the little Christmas tree lighting ceremony we have in town, and I just love the feeling of community and it being small. Don't get me wrong, I didn't dream about being on the beaches in LA when they were talking about that, but at the end of the day, reading the book, it really took me back to Gilmore Girls and Stars Hollow, and that's what I was just picturing. So I'm definitely more of a know your neighbor, especially I think we get older in life. I think if I was younger, you have the stars in your eyes and you want to experience amazing places, and I still do, but where you're kind of rooted is important, and knowing people around you. I love the whole vibe of the whole Starlight Peak in town.
Yeah, I'm Team Starlight Peak too. Yeah, and do you watch the show Virgin River on Netflix? Because if you're familiar with that show, that's what I was picturing in my head for Starlight Peak. It was kind of like a Virgin River, and yes, I would totally want to live there. What about you, Deb?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I love the city, the big city life, but I grew up in a smaller community, so I felt like I was going back to an area that I knew so well. And, it was very much a storybook, the quaint, picture-perfect town, despite everyone knowing everything about each other. There is a little bit of comfort in that. and I felt like I really want to spend the holidays there. And I'm a big Gilmore Girls fan, too. So I felt like it was a little bit of Stars Hollow. And I want to drink their coffee, and I want to eat the Woodburn Bread's bakery goodies every single day.
I know. I was that part in the book where the live stream was up and Charlie didn't realize, and she had said a few things about the town. Everything, I'm like, no, like it was. I could not imagine being in a situation like that. And I thought, oh goodness, how is she going to get out of this one? And of course, because it's a rom-com and a fun book, she did. We won't spoil anything, but let's just say it's a happy ending. So it was a really great book. And on that note, what were your thoughts on the ending of this book? Simone, again, we'll go to you first.
I loved the ending. So it was a bit of a plot twist in the end when, at first... was it Cass who was showing up and she asked, is everything ready? And I was like, ready for what? What's going to happen here? So I knew something was going to happen. And then with the whole proposal and the baby news, oh my gosh, I was like, this is perfect. Like, this is a great way to end it. And they're all together. They're all in Starlight Peak. And it gave you the warm fuzzies.
Absolutely. Deb, what did you think about the ending? Did you enjoy every minute, or did you have a part that you're like, yes, I'm so glad that happened?
Yeah, no, do you know what? I loved it all as well. I think it's what every romance novel needs, a predictable, happy ending that gives more than you'd expected, and it fills your heart like it was your own family and friends. And I think that's what people love so much about these types of stories. It may be predictable in some, parts of the storyline, but I think that's what we gravitate towards, right? We need a little bit of that to get away and escape whatever else might be going on around us. So I think that's the comfort in knowing that it's got to happen. It's going to happen. And then it did. And then even more.
And let's face it, it's been a tough couple of years. And to read through a book like this, it was just so comforting and nice and happy ending, and yay. Like, I just loved it. And like you, Simona, you had mentioned you couldn't put it down. I read this book very, very quickly. I devoured it. Get it? All about food. Love it.
Nicely done.
Thank you. So, bonus question, Team Jake or Team Miguel, if you were able to pick a favorite guy, because they both were obviously really awesome, but who appealed to you the most, Simone?
I would say Jake. Jake had a big appeal for me. And when I started this book and I was like, okay, of course we have, a form of a doctor here and a firefighter. Like, this is totally what's in store for us. But I really liked him, and the whole story when he got the cat out of the tree, Gateau, and I was just drawn to his character more, and the way he was with his grandma, and it was just really sweet, that whole dynamic. And I think I would be Team Jake for sure.
Okay, Deb, what about you?
Oh my gosh, can't choose. I love them both. They're so perfect. But okay, if I had to, I think I'd go Team Miguel because I'm very clumsy and I could easily have a concussion as well. So, Miguel would be there to help me with my scrapes and bumps along the way.
Yes, a physician's assistant is handy to have around for sure. Well, Simone, you took my favorite thing about Jake. He saved a cat. You had me at saving the cat. Yeah, that was great. Yes, we absolutely love this holiday rom-com. It was awesome. And we're going to catch up with Maggie Knox. That is the pen name for writing duo Karma Brown and Marissa Stapley, because we have some questions we want to share with them. So we'll talk to them now. Hi, Karma. Hi, Marissa from New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. I was checking in with you today. Hi. Well, first of all, loved the book. It was absolutely awesome. It gave me the warm fuzzies. It was wonderful to read. I have to know, how much fun did you both have coming up with the premise for the book? Because you started this pre-pandemic, right?
We did. Yeah, we started just before Christmas 2019. We had this crazy idea. This is Karma speaking, by the way, just so Marissa and I will try to take turns here. But we were talking about our own individual projects and sort of feeling a little bummed about being so isolated in our own books, and decided we might like to, wouldn't it be fun to collaborate? And then the next thing you know, we had this idea. Well, what if we wrote something really different from what we're writing, something that's festive because it was almost Christmas, like let's do a holiday romance. And it was really fun actually coming up with the premise and deciding who the leading, the love interests would be, and the settings. And I don't know if you want to say anything to that, Marissa, but
I think we just had fun, because I don't think at that point we even knew we were serious. So it was pure fun. It was like, what would be most fun? Twin swap, firefighter, doctor,
bakery,
or physician,
bakery. Yeah.
Silly LA town from Hallmark movies. And we just kind of went over the top and had so much fun that I think it just reflected in our kind of madcap plot. It was great fun.
Was it like over dinner or wine or food of some sort that made you like come up with all these? I know, like all the food and the fun and the festivities in the book. It was just fantastic.
We did go out for like a high tea with our group of writing friends over the holidays, where we kind of announced it to them. And I think that made it real. We were eating like all these baked goods and we were telling them about our idea. And then there was no going back. But Karma and I Karma more consistently than I am, wake up really early to do our writing. So a lot of it honestly was just really early in the morning, texting over coffee, having fun before we dove into our other projects.
Well, I can appreciate working early in the morning, hosting a morning show. So that's when I feel most productive as well. Well done. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to throw things over now to Deb. I know she has a question for you as well.
I do. Yes, well done, ladies. It is oozing all that we need. We crave those sugar cookies and the candy canes and hot chocolate over the holidays. And I can't believe that you've not written a holiday romance, that this was your first.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You've said that you didn't each take a twin to write about, correct? That you switched back and forth, like it was a bit of an adventure. What was the biggest surprise for each of you as the story developed?
We decided that we wanted to share the book as much as we could. And so we didn't each take a twin. We did switch back and forth so that we were both really invested in their stories and in the settings. And it was nice to have, you got to have a break from LA and the surfing, and then you get to go to the snowy town. And in terms of what was the biggest surprise, I don't know. I mean, it's such a different, as you said, we've never written anything like this before. And so the opportunity, I love baking and baking reality shows. So the chance to live in that world for a lot of months was really fun for me. Just the process was a brand new experience. And I think I'm a really curious person and I love new experiences. So that was just, I don't know if that was a surprise, but that was one of the best parts about it for me.
I think we also felt surprised somewhat pleasantly by the fact that whenever our characters were in a pickle, we could just solve it by remembering that they got to have a very, very happy ending. And our own books are not always like that. So, we'd think, oh gosh, this is getting complicated and this is going to be sad. And then we'd think, oh no, it's not going to be sad. This is a rom-com. Like it's just all heading towards this perfect happy ending. Mm-hmm. And both really, really enjoyed that.
It was perfect. It really was.
And Simone here, I absolutely loved it. I read it in just a couple of days. I am a sucker for all things holidays and rom-com. And so as I was reading this, I was just picturing this being turned into some kind of a Christmas Hallmark movie. Are there any plans for that at all?
Not that we can talk about. We would love that to happen. Dream, and I think we picture it too, but we can't say anything officially. But I think we certainly envision it that way, don't we, Karma? And that's a big dream.
We do. Yeah, and maybe one day we will have news we can share on that. But again, it just has to be one of those Christmas secrets, I guess. For the time being.
And I was reading that you are both working on another holiday book together. Is that true?
Yes, we are. We actually just submitted it at 5:00 this morning to our editors, the second draft. So we're all tired. Yes, we have a second one coming out called All I Want for Christmas. Same publishers, same time next year. So we will be delighting people's hearts again.
Oh, I love that.
It's a little different. We like to call it for those people who are rom-com fans, it's the Hating Game meets Nashville, the TV show. So there's a reality show, there's some enemies to lovers trope, and it was fun. It was really fun to write.
Mm-hmm. Country music. Going to be fun.
This is Anne. I watched Nashville, the series, 2 times through, so I'm very excited about this book coming out.
This will be for you
the
then.
New Year.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. Actually, there was a question that I asked when we were having our book club discussion before you joined us on today's podcast, and I wanted to ask both of you as well because I'm a foodie and I love reality food shows. My favorite one of all time is Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, but I like the baking shows too. But I have to ask you, what was your favorite food moment for each of you in the book?
Ooh, that's a tough one. The favorite food moment. Can you think of one off the top of your head, Marissa?
Well, mine were the restaurants. And I think we've talked about this before, how my husband, he knows how obsessed I am with dining out, particularly during the pandemic when we couldn't. Like if we're going out for dinner, or I've figured out what we're having before we go. If someone mentions going out for dinner, I'm like, what did you have? Like, did you like it? Did you have an appetizer? So any of the
I do the same thing. I love that. I totally can relate to that. Yeah. Was it like at Fabrizio's? Is that what you're talking about? The restaurant moment with Miguel and Cass?
Yeah. So those were my kind of pandemic fantasy moments of like, imagine being at a restaurant.
and the food just keeps coming.
Yeah, Marissa, you can tell that Marissa wrote those chapters. I was definitely much more into the reality, like the reality baking stuff, like the tension. They're trying to make a croque-en-bouche tower, and just the absolute tension of getting one thing wrong or the tower crashing over is all the excitement I need. So those are really fun parts for me to work on too.
Where can we eat Woodburn Bread's bakery goodies? Because I think we all need a little bit of that. Is there actually a bakery that you had in mind, like one of your favorites that kind of set the idea for the bakery?
There's a bakery that my daughter used to take horseback riding lessons and way out in the country, and there was a bakery that we would always stop at, and I won't say the name of it on here, but she had just the most amazing butter tarts and apple cider donuts, and that it's not quite as, I would say, fancy and polished with all the Christmas cookies that are in our book, but it is that middle of nowhere bakery where it's just the food is so delicious. For me, that's what I thought of.
And there's Blackbird Breads in Toronto and Prairie Boy. So I was making my own sourdough, but when I can't, grabbing those perfect loaves of sourdough, I think those were the ones I thought of. But then I think we were really winging it and making it our own kind of fictional bakery that we both existed. Like I think we basically got to the point where all we wanted was like a good date square and some lemon bars.
Yes, please. And it just makes me think, has somebody looked at the starter? Do we need to feed the starter?
I'm not a baker. I didn't even know what starter was. I'm like, you need starter to make bread? I don't know what this is. Oh my goodness.
Well,
for sourdough.
We will have to keep that in mind. Thank you both again so much for joining us today on our Relaxing Reads podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're thrilled.
Thank you for kicking back and relaxing with us. We hope you'll join us again on Relaxing Reads.